Hello and welcome back to Cricbuzz Live. I'm Saiyami, Kher. Well, Australia had won the toss. They decided to bat first, but Ireland came out. They showed belief and they showed skill. They managed to restrict Australia to 182 runs. Stoinis getting 45 of 29 balls. Josh English 37 and then Matt Renshaw got 37. Mark Adair got 2 wickets for 44 in his 4. I'm back with the two good boys, Dinesh, Karthik and Ajinkya Rahane. Ajinkya, 182, but we were chatting about this.
Yeah.
The track looked a little slow. It looked like the ball really wasn't coming onto the bat.
Yeah, it looked a little slow. I still think it's a good score, 182 in 20 overs. We think in this format always 200 plus. But playing in Sri Lanka, Indian wickets are completely different. But I think wicket looks slow. They were going 10 overs, 90 for 4. From there, getting 92 in last 10. I thought it's a good effort. Even though I feel the bowling unit, Ireland team will be happy with 182. You never know how the wicket plays in the second half, but you see that 7 to 10 and 11 to 15,
Yes.
6.50 and 7.80. Even though they just lost 2 wickets, I thought 200 we were looking, Australia will get it, but 180 on this wicket looks good.
But DK, there was that phase which Ajinkya is talking about, that middle phase where there was Stoinis and Renshaw who just couldn't seem to get things going because they were not being able to strike the ball at all. So clearly, was it the pitch or do you think it was good bowling as well?
Mainly the pitch, because it was not easy to hit boundaries. And also, if you notice, in Sri Lanka so far, they played on some pitches which 8-turn. And both their spinners, Dockrell and to a large extent, Tector as well, they bowled quite nicely. And through the middle overs, with the ball getting slightly softer, coming so strong out of the power play, it needn't be that simple. And just like anyone else in this world of cricket, when you play in the subcontinent, it becomes a different challenge altogether. It's about how well you can hit boundaries, how well you can rotate, and those questions are not necessarily asked so much when you play in Australia or in England. So the challenges of playing spin is one of the biggest ones across the board for most teams who are not part of the subcontinent. And you can see, because of the number of 8-overs, etc., there's always been room for improvement for a lot of the teams, but Australia being one of the teams which play spin quite nicely, and even them, where it wasn't that easy for them to rotate through the middle, and that's why through the middle, just like what Ajinkya said, their scoring rates were quite stunted in that point of time.
But Ajinkya, that over 6 to 15, where we saw that run rate really drop, it was all spin. And we have spoken about this earlier as well. In Sri Lanka, we are going to see a lot of spin used. Again, today, we are seeing the same thing that Ireland's done. Of course, Australia has got those spinners, but this is a clear indication of what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, looks like in Sri Lanka. But talking about Australia's batting, I think just first game in the World Cup, they just probably read the wicket really well. They thought the wicket will be slightly on the slower side. So having wickets in hand after last 5 overs will be really crucial. So that's why I think we saw they batting slightly slow in that 7 to 15 phase. And then they got 60 runs in last 5 overs.
10.6.
So yeah, probably read the wicket really well. And they, as I said, 180 on this wicket looks really good. Even though Australia, they don't have quality spinners apart from Sampa. But no, going forward in Sri Lanka, I feel we'll see wickets similar to this.
Well, DK, there was pressure on Head because there was no Mitch Marsh today. Head, of course, came out. He was dropped and then he got run out pretty much the next ball. And then to follow after that, we saw Josh English get 37, but a really good catch by Paul Stirling. Cam Green coming out 21 of 11, but couldn't really convert it to a big one. Then we thought that middle phase, something might happen. Again, Glenn Maxwell falling very early, 9 of 9. So for them, no one really stuck it out and made it big besides the Stoinis.
That's probably why they've just ended up being closer to 180 than probably 190 or 200. Now, when through the middle, you generally want to attack. And if you want to attack, you need to have good players of spin, which Maxwell is. And when somebody like that fails, then the pressure goes a lot more on people like Stoinis, Cooper Connolly, and the rest. But I must admit that Ireland, you would expect them to feel quite nicely. I thought English batted beautifully, and so did Cam Green. I think Ajinkya would be very happy to hear this. He's part of their team, and he looks very powerful, played some lovely shots, and made best use of the power play. But for Matt Renshaw and Cooper Connolly, this is the big stage, and they would want to do well in subcontinent conditions. And it's not an easy challenge as they keep going through their career. I'm sure they're going to keep getting better, but this will be almost like baptism by fire for them, considering how hard it is to play. But they would have relied a lot on the likes of Stoinis and Maxwell to do well. Stoinis did, but not so much from Maxwell today.
Ajinkya, just a quick look at Ireland's bowling as well, because Kher, we spoke about him in the pre-match show. He came out, picked up those 2 wickets, but overall, the spin department is the ones who kind of, kind of choked them for the runs, and Harry Tector getting that important wicket, 3 overs, 24 runs.
Yeah, we spoke about the spinners. They bowled 3 overs in the power play, 7 overs in first 10. So spinners, I thought, bowled really well. They used the crease, I thought, and also the bowling that slightly back and away from batter's arc was really important, because Australians, we all know, very strong hitters. Anything full, they can clear it easily. And on a slower track, I feel bowling slightly away and wide becomes really crucial. So I thought they, as a spin bowling unit, they bowled really well.
Ajinkya spoke about how they use their angles very well today, DK, and they don't have any mystery spinners in their team. It's pretty much line and length, using those angles, and they've done that well today.
They have. I thought the spinners bowled quite nicely. Even in the first game against Sri Lanka, I thought they bowled pretty well, especially Dockrell. I thought he was solid last game, even today as well. And Tector, Garrett Delaney, all of them contributed. And we'll see the same when Australia come on to bowl as well. You can see the Irish batters wouldn't find it that easy against the spinners. And as we've harped on so far, it is always a challenge to play spin in these conditions, and playing big shots come out of experience. It's not often. So the likes of a Stoinis would know, okay, on this pitch, it's not that easy to hit boundaries, maybe rotate and then later on take down in the death part of the innings, which is what he did.
But DK, Ajinkya, you feel that, Australia will be feeling comfortable right now with the score on the board, and they also have a team packed with spinners.
Yeah, I think so. They'll be comfortable with this total. As Adam Zampa in the middle overs is very quality spinners. Fast bowlers also have very good slower balls. I think their options are very good. It's not only about the pace. They have very good slower balls. So I think Australia will be really happy. Only we need to see how wicket plays in the second innings. Generally gets better. I'm not too sure. But if it gets better, then it will be slightly easier for 6 overs. But if it's slow, then it will be challenging for the Irish batters.
I concur with Ajinkya, but I don't think it's going to get easier. I think it gets slower because of how hot it is right now. And generally in the evenings it gets better, but right now, considering they're just playing an afternoon game, it's going to be remaining the same, if not tougher, because of the wear and tear that's already been there. Yes, just the 20 overs, but still, I feel the spinners will have a lot more of purchase when they come back, the Australian spinners.
Just as a pure cricket fan, I hope that Ireland can manage to make a thriller out of this, because that last game we saw, we were sitting here in the studio when that super over was on. It was an absolute thriller. The nails have already been bitten. This is what happened in that match. South Africa got 187. Ryan Nicholton got 61. Quinton de Kock 59. In return, Afghanistan got 187, where Cricbuzz got 84. And then it was really disappointing as a fan, because we saw Farooqi, who went to get that double and then got run out, which is why it went into this first super over where there was 17 needed, and South Africa got 17 because Tristan Stubbs hit that 6 of that last ball, which made us go into a double super over. And the second super over, well, South Africa made 23 runs, and in return, we saw that Keshav Maharaj came out to bowl, and Afghanistan, the first ball was a duck, and then first ball was 0, and then there was a wicket. Then those 3 sixes that Cricbuzz hit, where we thought, all right, is this going into another super over? But it was very well bowled by Maharaj. The last 2 balls very, very well bowled, and South Africa managed to hold their nerves under a really, really high pressure game. But I have always rooted for Afghanistan, because it's the story. We spoke about their story. But this is what we want in a World Cup game. This kind of thrill, this kind of excitement, because a double super over in a World Cup game is as thrilling as it gets, DK.
Extraordinary game. You don't get this too often. I can't see how many times T20 games will go down to a double super over.
And almost a triple.
Almost a triple. That is the most interesting part of it as well. And there's very little to choose from. In the first super over, there were 3 boundaries from both teams. In the second super over, again 3 boundaries from same team, both the teams. Just phenomenal game. I just feel overall, cricket is the winner. You must say that Afghanistan would find it very hard from here on to qualify, and must admit that they had their chances. I thought just in the normal match in itself, that last double that was taken, could Fazal al-Farooqi be a little more proactive and taken that second run better? Whatever, we can keep going back and forth. But the fact is that it was a brilliant game. Both teams gave their heart out. And for the second time in 2 World Cups, I think South Africa are just pulling off victories from the jaws of defeat, which is a good sign and bad in a way, because they don't want to be playing too many close games like that. It also tells you that somewhere they're letting themselves down. But just credit to them for just hanging there and making sure that somehow they just have that extra bit to cross the line at the end.
You know, Ajinkya, I don't know how you all do it, because you all are both two players who've played under immense pressure, and there have been so many games where you have captained where there's so much pressure but there's no expression. There's just so much stoicness, poise in Ajinkya's face, and even when you bat under pressure, there just doesn't look like you'll have the pressure on your face. As fans, I can barely breathe when there's a double super over or single super over. As fans, we go crazy. But for South Africa, for Maharaj, first 2 were dot balls, and then those 3 sixes by Cricbuzz. He will be under immense pressure, but he bowled really well, bowled a little wide, and he used his tactics perfectly in the last 2 balls.
Yeah, I think firstly, see, it was a great game. As DK said, getting 24, 25 in 1 over, that seems really difficult. The way South Africa started, Maharashtra started dot and a wicket, and then hitting 3 sixes. No, I think Cricbuzz did a fantastic job there. As DK again mentioned, South Africa reacting under pressure. We have always spoke about South Africa under pressure, but last 2 World Cups, I mean, they've been reacting really well. Even this was a pressure situation. First super over and then second super over. Credit to Maharaj, under pressure bowling that wide ball, even that one which went for wide, and then again second one, he again tried that. That shows he's actually really confident about his ability. The field set they had 3-point and deep extra cover and long offs. He was actually sure about what he wanted to bowl. And in pressure situation, what happens is there are too many thoughts. No, you don't back your original plan. You don't back what you are actually practicing. So I thought, no, let's give credit to Maharaj. Yes, it was an easy game, second super over, especially for South Africa. But way Cricbuzz batted, they came into the game, and then taking that wicket and winning the match was something really special.
Well, it was very special because that group now, we'll have a look at that points table and see where the points table for South Africa stand. They have played 2 matches, won 2 matches, and they have those 4 points. But if Afghanistan had to win this today, DK, that group would have been pretty topsy-turvy all over the place.
If they had won today, then you'll understand why it's called the group of death. But sadly, I think Afghanistan's journey could have come to a halt. I've been saying that I feel bad for them. They actually batted valiantly against New Zealand as well. But New Zealand were outstanding in reply. And today, South Africa, they were cruising, and then they came back in the game. They did everything possible to stay in the game, but just couldn't manage to get over the line. Jonathan Trott would be distraught, to be fair, because it was a tough game.
DK.
And I feel for them, but considering that last World Cup they were the semi-finalists, they'd be so disappointed. They were in a tough group, and alas, looks like they might have to. Not they might have to. Their campaign could have come to an end if with these 2 games not going their way. So. Feel bad for them, but that's how the sport is. They have tried hard, and for many a World Cup, they have been trying. I'm sure they'll get their turn.
Well, Afghanistan have lost 2, but Ireland would not want to lose 2. They have quite a steep uphill task, Ajinkya, 183 to get. We were totally off the mark with our prediction game, like totally off the mark. I know in defense you're saying you should get something because you were closest, but you were off the mark too. The news out there is that Paul Stirling has retired hurt after just 1 ball. So that's a big, big blow. So let's quickly do our guesses.
48 for me, 6 overs.
45.
48, 45, and I'm going to go with 41 after this news that's come in. Because Paul Stirling's a big name. I know you said he's not been the greatest of form, but let's see what happens. Let's hope we get an exciting game, because my heart rate is still skyrocketing after that Afghanistan-South Africa super over game. So let's hope we get an exciting game. Thank you, DK. Thank you, Ajinkya. Thank you, of course, for the matki chi bhaji also, Ajinkya. We will be back at the 10th over point at the Cricbuzz Combox. So do join us there.